Shit, real talk, based on my sources, Guillermo Rigondeaux has no problem making 118. And, you know, that's not a surprise because it's known for a while now that he's a small 122. So back when he was negotiating with Vasyl Lomachenko, and he actually agreed to meet Vasyl at he agreed to meet him at 126 at first. Then he agreed to meet him at 124, and then there was a rehydration clause, I think, of 135. When he agreed to those negotiations, a lot of people were like, damn, you know, Rigo's gonna be in for a tough fight because he's already a small 122 pounder, right? But anyway, he can make 118. I'd like to see this motherfucker after tonight's fight possibly go down there and fight Shinsuke Yamanaka for lineal status at 118, right? Of course, Yamanaka is the fucking reigning WBC champion down there. I think he has something like 20 title defenses of the WBC title. Don't quote me, but I know it's a lot. You know what I'm saying? And he's been the lineal champion down there for a minute. And then also, my man, the monster, 2014 Fighter of the Year, anyway, my Fighter of the Year, Naoya Inoue, number 5 pound-for-pound fighter in the world on my list. This motherfucker's talking about going up from 115 to 118. Do y'all understand how big those fights would be in Japan? Rigo versus Yamanaka or Rigo versus Inoue. Also, do you understand how competitive those fights would be? You know what I'm saying? Those are some excellent fucking fights. Now, Inoue is still waiting around for Roman Gonzalez to rematch Rungvisai and hopes to get a fight with him at 115, which I think he beats the dust off Roman Gonzalez. Now, at one point, I thought Roman would beat him, and I always said Roman needed to fight him about 1.5 years, 2 years ago so that Naoya Inoue doesn't get the experience that he has today, because if he lets him get that experience, he will lose to him. And he fucked around and let him do it. Plus, Roman Gonzalez has been fading at 115. That's not a division I think he should be campaigning at. He's too small for it. So I think Naoya Inoue will have no problems with Roman Gonzalez. But he's waiting on that fight. But he's talking about going to 118 if that fight doesn't happen. Man, dog. And to be honest with you, I don't think it does happen. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it does happen, but it may not. Bro, that's an excellent fight. Now, I think Inoue and Yamanaka will fight each other. But, man, with Rigo looming on the horizon, man, for one of those two fighters, man, that's some excellent shit right there, real talk.
This is y'all time to shine, man. This is your moment. So do what you got to do. Lock in, get focused. And when them lights turn on, man, ain't time to shrink back. It's time to shine. And my boy Rigondeaux, man, I'm always happy to be on the card with him, man. That's a master, man. That's a master. Nothing but respect to Rigondeaux. And the fact that they don't understand you, my brother, that's not your fault. The fact that you don't get the respect you deserve, that's not your fault. That's got more to do with them and less to do with you. So I'm watching your videos. So respect, my brother.
What's good? It's your boy 2K, and I'm back in the building. Yo, if you haven't watched the beginning of this video, I highly recommend that you hit the rewind button and go back and listen to what Andre Ward had to say about the Jaw Collector, aka the Boogeyman, aka Guillermo Rigondeaux. And a little off topic, man, I just don't understand how motherfuckers don't support Andre Ward. You know what I'm saying? He dedicated his fight against Sergey Kovalev, this second fight anyway, to his stablemate Daniel Franco, who was recently in a coma. As an American fighter, I really don't understand how Americans don't support this guy. You got a guy who hasn't lost since he was 12 years old, the last male Olympic gold medalist. For some reason, Americans choose to support Russians and Uzbekistanians and Germans, etc., over this motherfucker. I don't understand it. But anyway, this video is really about Guillermo Rigondeaux, man, and you know, I firmly believe, and I don't think there's a debate, much of a debate to it, because nobody wants to fight this motherfucker, that Guillermo Rigondeaux is the most ducked fighter of this era. You know what I'm saying? You got Gennady Golovkin, a lot of motherfuckers talking about, yeah, nobody wants to fight Triple G, and he's trying to fight everybody. Nah, man, I know about 7 motherfuckers And y'all all know who they are, so I don't need to name all the guys that have called Triple G out from numerous divisions inside his division. I don't have to name all these guys. I know about 7 motherfuckers that have called Triple G out. I know 0 that have called Guillermo Rigondeaux out. You know what? Let me take that back. I know some that have called Guillermo Rigondeaux out, but when Rigo was getting ready to make that shit come to fruition, they went back on their word. See, Triple G has not called anybody's bluff that has called him out. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Rigo, he's calling your motherfucking bluff. And it's mainly because, shit, he's looking for a fight too. You know what I'm saying? Triple G can fight bums all day long. Whereas Guillermo Rigondeaux, he's having trouble even getting bums in the ring. Motherfuckers that could get name recognition if they accidentally land a lucky punch on Rigo and knock him out, they don't even want to take that chance against him. You know what I'm saying? So he's clearly the most duck fighter. I mean, shit, we can go down the list. You got Carl Frampton, a guy that was bumping his motherfucking gums before the Scott Quigg fight at 122, talking about, yeah, you know, after I beat Scott Quigg, we're going to see who the real Jackal is. You know, I want Guillermo Rigondeaux. As soon as he beat Scott Quigg, Guillermo Rigondeaux immediately became too boring, and he's not a draw, which the second statement I don't understand, because the fight would have been in the UK. It wouldn't have been in the United States. And for him to not be a draw, it doesn't matter because the fight is in your hometown. You're the draw. You're the one that's going to be bringing in the fan base, you know, from your hometown fans. It's not Rigo bringing motherfuckers to America, to the UK. You know what I'm saying? He would, but it's not. That's not a priority. That's not the primary fan base that we'd be looking at in that fight, right? So that shit didn't make sense. And of course, he went to 126, completely ducked Guillermo Rigondeaux after he said he would fight him if he beat Scott Quigg. You got Leo Santa Cruz, who never said that he would ever fight Guillermo Rigondeaux under any circumstances, and actually priced himself out on DBN, Dante's Boxing Nation, shout out to him, priced himself out on an interview with him at a time where he wasn't a big draw of a fighter. He was still making a name for himself, but said that he would want $3 million to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux, which he wasn't going to get that. At that time, he wasn't as popular as Roman Gonzalez is, and Roman Gonzalez is having trouble getting $3 million. Leo Santa Cruz was with Golden Boy at that time, believe. So, anyway, and then Al Haymon bought his contract out shortly after, and that pretty much was the determining factor on steering him away from Guillermo Rigondeaux permanently. Then he moves up to 126, obviously, right? Scott Quigg was also bumping his gums before the Carl Frampton fight. He said, yeah, I'm going to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux, win or lose. Motherfucker gets beat by Carl Frampton in a lackluster fight. He's been quiet ever since. Ray Vargas, right now, who's the number 3 fighter in the division at 122 by Ring Magazine, he was in the mix. That fight didn't come to fruition. The only guy that has called Guillermo Rigondeaux recently is Jesse Magdaleno, right? Brother of Diego Magdaleno, the champion who took the belt off of Nonito Donaire last year, right? In his last fight, which he didn't really look too good at the end of it, he called out Guillermo Rigondeaux. He said he'll fight anybody, including Rigo. But since then, he's been motherfucking quiet, right? Then you got Abner Mares. Abner Mares reinvigorated himself recently, getting a belt. They're talking about him rematching Leo Santa Cruz. But I will take you to a interview done on ESPN Deportes. It was a Spanish interview. And y'all motherfuckers better not laugh at my Spanish. I probably should have had my wife come over here and say this shit. You know what I'm saying? But it was a show on ESPN Deportes called A Los Golpes. And it's a boxing show. And they pretty much talk about a lot of the Mexican fighters. They talk about boxing in general, but they pretty much focus on a lot of the Mexican fighters. He said in an interview there back in 2014 that Rigo would beat him because he's just like Floyd Mayweather. Now, if that's not a motherfucking duck, I don't know what is. Now, I gotta give credit to Abner Mares for understanding, you know, his limitations, but at the same time, I gotta take that credit right back from him, because as a man, you don't ever concede to defeat before you actually get into the ring with a motherfucker. shit, as a man, you don't ever concede to defeat in life. You know what I'm saying? And this motherfucker did just that on that interview. So he's already told us Rigo would beat shit out of him. So that fight's not going to happen. Of course, he's been mum on a Guillermo Rigondeaux fight. I mean, he's at 126, but, you know, Rigo's been calling out motherfuckers from 122 to 126, trying to get somebody in the ring with him, and nobody wants to fight him. So, but let's talk a little bit about this fight. You know what? Fuck that. Actually, before I go into that, I'm still gonna talk about how he's the most duck motherfucker. I mean, look here, man. Look here, man. I'm gonna do a video. I talked about it before. I'm gonna do a video. You know what I'm saying? About the Black Murderers Row of the 1940s and shit, right? But we got a Murderers Row that we could talk about in this era, and pretty much the headlining motherfucker on this Murderers Row, this new era's Murderers Row, would be Guillermo Rigondeaux. The headliner of the Murderers Row, the original Black Murderers Row, was of course Charlie Burley, right? And they had other cats like Eddie Booker, Lloyd Marshall. They had Aaron Wade, you know, Burt Liddell. What's my man's name? Coco Kid. Damn, I can't. Herbert Lewis. Elmer Ray, Holman Williams. I mean, I might have forgot some motherfuckers, but it was a lot of motherfuckers. And what happened with that particular group is that the middleweight division was ducking these niggas to the point where they had to have their own tournament and fight each other. And I believe they fought each other somewhere upwards of 60 or 61, 62 times, you know what I'm saying, combined, you know, that these guys actually faced each other. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't for any titles or anything like that. So, of course, the Black Murderers Row back then was really limited only to the middleweight division. But the Murderers Row of today would be a whole, you know, every division, all 17 divisions in the sport of boxing. And Guillermo Rigondeaux would lead that motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? So, alright, now let's talk about the fight. Guillermo Rigondeaux is going to be the WBA Super champion going into this fight. Moises Flores is going to be the IBO champion, a belt that he took off of Paulo Mbunda in his last fight of June of 2016. It's going to be, of course, at 122 pounds on the undercard of Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev 2. Guillermo Rigondeaux, now the first thing you look at is he's 5'4" with 68-inch reach, and he's 36 years old. Against Moises Flores, man, he's giving up a 5-inch reach. You know what I'm saying? He's a 5-inch reach disadvantage. 5-inch height disadvantage, a 1-inch reach disadvantage, and he's given up 6 years in age. With that said, a lot of motherfuckers are saying, oh, Moises Flores is too tall, he's got too much of a reach. One thing about Moises Flores is, before I break down his style completely, I'll give you this little tidbit to prove my point that I'm getting ready to pull out right now. Moises Flores fights small, okay? He doesn't utilize his jab as much as he should as the taller, rangier fighter. He may use the jab to measure you. One of his signature punches is the uppercut, and he can be standing from a distance, have the jab out there, a fully extended, measuring you, then step in with a right uppercut. That's one of his favorite moves. He'll do that, but for the most part, and most of the fight, he's gonna fight small. He likes to fight on the inside. He likes to get close to you. My point in saying that is, I would direct you to Hisashi Amagasa, which was 2 fights ago. And you see him pictured here. He's one of the cats with the broken jaw on here. You know what I'm saying. But anyway, I direct you to Hisashi Amagasa, who was 5'10", and he had a 71.5-inch reach. You know what I'm saying? That is what, a 6-inch height advantage and a 3.5-inch reach advantage for him. And he was the better boxer from the outside. Listen to what I'm saying. He's a better outside fighter than Moises Flores, right? Of course, Rigo, let me say this. Of course, when you've got a guy who's extremely shorter than his opponent, and he's losing in the reach department, the first thing we say is, oh, he's got to get on the inside. You know what I'm saying? So looking at this fight, of course, you know, Rigo and Flores, the first thing you say is, well, Rigo's got to get on the inside, right? Well, against Hisashi Amagasa, he fought this motherfucker on the outside and on the inside. That's how good Rigo is. It was the footwork that kept Amagasa uncomfortable in the ring and guessing. He didn't know what Rigo was going to do next. So that allowed Rigo to actually be able to counter this motherfucker from the outside, even though he had a huge height and reach disadvantage. Moises Flores isn't that type of boxer from the outside, so this fight is actually going to be easier for Rigo to land his counter punches and pretty much do dances around this motherfucker with his extraordinary footwork. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be an easier fight in my opinion in that aspect. Of course, Moises Flores, he's 25-0 with 17 knockouts. Of course, he's a dangerous fighter. He has some pretty good fights with Oscar Candon, who was the guy that got put to sleep by Gary Russell Jr. back in May on the same card as the Andre Durrell Jose Uzcategui fight. He had another good fight with a guy by the name of Luis Emmanuel Casolito. Fucked his name up. Casolito, the guy that he actually gained mandatory status off of, right, for this Rigo fight. Now that fight, I actually want y'all to look at that fight before the fight tonight. Flores was getting his ass whooped in that fight. I mean, he was giving as much as he was taking, but the fact is he was taking. You see what I'm saying? He knocked Casolito out in the 12th round with 57 seconds left in the fight. That fight was actually getting to the point where, depending on how the judges saw it, it could have been Flores' first loss. And the reasoning is because Flores has absolutely no fucking defense. Okay, like I said, he fights small. He likes to be at close distance. He likes to throw a lot of good uppercuts on the inside, and he likes to go to the body with some devastating hooks. But the problem is, in the process, he'll be standing on the outside, and he'll have his hands low. So Casolito was landing a lot of shots on him while he was coming in, and while he was just standing on the outside, kind of waiting. He's not high volume like a Leo Santa Cruz. He's not high volume like that, or Rung Prasad, a guy that Roman Gonzalez is about to fight again that he lost to, or Roman Gonzalez himself. He's not high volume like those guys. I'd say his volume is medium to high. So when he's not throwing punches and he's standing on the outside, he leaves himself open to counter shots, man. He leaves himself open to the jab. He leaves himself open to the straight left or right hand, depending on what stance his opponent is in. And he also comes in with his head first. He charges in, man. When he comes in head first, he leaves himself open to a counter. I mean, he leaves himself open to all kind of counters. You can counter him with the uppercut. You can Rigo can counter him with the check right hook. Counter him with a straight right hand. I mean, and Rigo, when he does that, he's gonna move laterally and give you an angle and continue to throw combinations, or he may move laterally, give you an angle and step back to not allow you to answer back. You know what I'm saying? So that's a major flaw for Flores going into this fight. He cannot come in head first, you know, thinking that he's going to be able to stagnate Rigo and keep him in front of him and, you know, basically try to get him on the inside. He can't do that. He's going to have to use his range and his distance. He's going to have to judge distance very well, use the jab. You know what I'm saying? Kind of try to keep Rigo on the end of his jab, cut the ring off, because Rigo is going to do a lot of dancing. And those are things that I don't think Flores is very good at. So I think this is it's going to be a good comeback fight for Rigo. A lot of people think Rigo is going to lose. I'm on the opposite. I think Rigo wins this fight by knockout. I think he knocks Flores out around, I say around 8. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be an accumulation of punches. This fight is going to be a situation where we're watching and we're like, oh shit, ooh, damn. And it's all going to come from Rigo counter punches, man. Alright. Big ups to my man Rigo. Shout out to him, man. Clearly the most duck fighter in boxing. I can't wait to see the Jaw Collector, aka the Boogeyman, collect another jaw tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time. YouTube, do what you do in the comment section. Be real. Let me know what you think about this fight. Who you got winning? This is Real Talk for real fans. 1.